Good morning. How are you? It's Wednesday. Oh, and it's raining down here. I mean, it's a humid, miserable, warm. It's not a nice day down here. It's not a tropical paradise today. It's a friggin' oven. All right. So we know that Trump is over in where is he today? Qatar, I think. I'm not sure. But he's done some things at home that we'll go over first. One of the big ones was he's basically keeps finding and taking away funding from Harvard University because he can't stand the fact that's where people are. That everybody there is probably smarter than he is. You know, he's going to prove that he's smarter than everybody else, no matter who he hurts. You know, that's just the way it is. And you know, I don't know if it's going to work the way he wants it to, or if he's going to eventually fry his brain cells and somebody else will take credit for it. I know one person that cannot do what Trump does, and he's in the, and that's J.D. Vance. He can't make the deals Trump does. He's too stupid, business-wise. I mean, he's just an idiot. He's not a good politician. He's a two-faced liar, more so than Trump. I mean, he goes where he thinks it's going to win, you know. And if tomorrow it looks like Russia's going to win, he's going to go over and give them everything they want. That's just the way he is. You can't have Vance as a president. He shouldn't have been made vice president. And most people in the Republican Party will agree with that. All right, they didn't like him in the beginning. So I don't think he can win, but you know, you never know. Right now, everybody's thinking Trump is doing this great job over there. Look, folks, especially women, if he loves that part of the world, you have to be ready to walk around with a veil across your face. No mini skirts, no high heels. You know? Oh, his stewardesses and whatnot get to dress hot. But they're totally subservient to men. If that's what you want, hey, go for it. But I don't think that's what women in the United States want. They want fair and equal rights, and I don't think you're going to get it with that moron. I think it's going to be gays, transgenders, women in general, and I don't know who else that are going to be probably responsible for taking down Trump if he ever gets taken down. Because what he's doing right now is just flaunting the law. He's going to do what he wants to do. And that's what he likes about Qatar and Saudi Arabia and whatnot. And they've been big supporters of the Republicans for years. You know, I've said this story more than once. It's true as far as I know. That those of you that were around on 9/11 probably read this afterwards or something like that. But anyhow, after the planes hit the towers, everything was grounded. No planes flew. I don't know how many days that was, but nothing got off the ground, and that was pretty much almost worldwide. Then, all of a sudden, a jet takes off from, I believe, Chicago. I'm not sure where it came from, but anyhow, and it's headed across the United States, and nobody's bothering it. I don't know whether it had an escort or not. But the reason it was flying and nobody else was flying was it was members of the Saudi family going home. Because at that point in time, it was known that Al-Qaeda was backed by Saudi Arabian money. Okay? Now they keep talking also about Aramco Oil Company, which is Saudi Arabian oil. That originally was, I think, Shell, Mobil, Texaco, and maybe Exxon were involved in that. I'm not sure. But I do know that my uncle, for about 9 months, lived in Saudi Arabia, and he was controller of the company. And then they decided that Saudi Arabia didn't want to be partners with the U.S. anymore, and they nationalized it. But it was a good deal, trust me. I mean, at first it was, everybody was pissed, and then it was a good deal because they have all this oil. Now, that's one of the reasons why we were pushing for all this alternate fuels, electricity and nuclear energy and all that, so that we weren't dependent on oil. The only thing we would be dependent on oil for is if we continued to use a lot of plastics and for making lubrications. But as a fuel, oil was going to be non-existent. It still might be. But that's why Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all these countries over there are making deals with the United States, because they know that there is not an unlimited supply of oil. That it is has an end point. And that end point's not that far away. When I first heard about it, it would have been someplace next 10 to 20 years. I'm not sure. That's when they said that we would run out of oil at the present consumption rate. But that consumption rate has been reduced drastically by other sources of energy. But it's also, I think this is what they call sweet oil, which is what they use to make gasoline. That's the oil they're talking about, not the other, not the stuff that you put in your engine and whatnot. That's a different kind of oil, I think, from what I understand. There's still a lot of that around, supposedly. And then they're going to have to find out a alternative for gas. And that's the only thing you can do for gas as a form of energy is I believe, electricity. I don't know if there are other alternatives to gas. They say hydrogen gas. Well, I sure as hell don't want hydrogen gas running through my house. So you can't look at one thing and say, oh, that's great. You have to look at the full picture of what's going on in the world. And he says he wants America to be like the Gulf. First, last time around, he wanted America to be like North Korea, where all the people paid attention when they were sitting in front of their leader, little Kim. Now he's going around saying he wants it to be more like the Gulf. Women don't have rights. Transgenders and gay people and bi people and whatnot, that's almost a crime in that country. So I think it is. I'm not sure. But they've got no use for those people. So that's a problem for him to deal with, that we have to deal with, that the women in this country are going to have to deal with. Women are subservient to men over there. Don't kid yourself. I don't care if they have a political position, if they're the ambassador to the world or whatever. Trust me. Women are subservient to men. Of course, America, there's a lot of men that want that, Because I was walking with a friend of mine this morning. He's actually subscribes to this channel, and one of the few that does. And he was asking me about how does this happen? Knowing everything everybody knows, how was Trump elected president? And I said, well, this isn't the first time that the countries want to change, and we didn't get exactly what we wanted. The problem with what makes him likable to these people is that people that vote expect immediate gratification. They expect these guys to do what they promised right away. Now, our system of government doesn't allow for instant gratification. I mean, you can get it pretty quickly if it's really popular, but you're not going to get instant gratification. Trump is going for the instant gratification. People who are upset with immigrants. Now, I had a huge argument with a guy one time when I was in the restaurant business and whatnot. But I don't know whether this was in a restaurant, if this was just general discussion. But it was a big argument. And he kept saying that they're taking my job. I said, well, what do you do for a living? And he says, I work in finance. I said, well, you might be right there. I said, but the government's bringing those people in on H-1B visas. That's not some illegal immigrant taking your job. I said, if you want to be a dishwasher, a fruit picker, or mow lawns for a living, manual labor, and there's no shortage of work for you. They're not taking the job from you. It's because you don't want to do the work that they're taking the job. Will they work cheaper? Of course they will. But those jobs aren't worth, billions of dollars either. That's a job nobody really wants to do. A dishwasher, work 12-hour days as a dishwasher. I watch those guys work in my restaurants. They're not. That's not an easy job. That's a hard job. And the most successful restaurants are those people that can take care of those people without paying them a fortune. Because if you pay them a fortune, you got to shut your doors. Because you're going to charge prices that nobody can afford. That's just economics. But I don't think they take your job. I really don't. I think that's just bullshit. And I think that's, if you've got the college education, you shouldn't lose your job. Although AT&T, they want illegal immigrants. These people that go to work for AT&T that legitimately take your job sometimes are not illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants are the ones that are doing the manual labor. They can't get a good job, even if they've got a college education, because the higher the job position, the more scrutiny is given to them. So they can't really work. If they're a chemical engineer, they can't work as a chemical engineer. They can be a good terrorist, but they can't be a chemical engineer because in the United States because of the requirements, security, and everything else. So they're not taking anybody's job. They're the immigrants that are in those jobs are being given those jobs because there's not enough. Either one, there's not enough qualified people. Two, yeah, they will work cheaper somewhat. But the way AT&T did it with their folks when they laid off people and they had these Indian and Pakistan people there, they went around and they hired their help back but as private contractors, so they didn't have to pay health insurance and whatnot. That's where the money went going. In the contracts that they had was health insurance and whatnot. It wasn't, they weren't getting paid for the work, it was the other stuff. So, what else is happening? Oh, yeah, this is a fun one. It's the last item of the day. The Menendez brothers had their sentences reduced to, I think it was 50 years to life or something like that, which makes them basically eligible for parole. I'd love to see those two boys come out in the street and somebody just gut shoot them with a shotgun. Those guys did some horrible things, and I don't think there's any excuse on the planet for that. I think they did that deliberately. They did it, I think, for money, not for fear of abuse and whatnot. I think they did it for money because their parents wouldn't give them the money to do what they wanted to be. They wanted to be the playboys, and they couldn't do it. That's my opinion. I mean, there's nothing really factual about what's going on there, but that's just my, opinion about the subject. So we'll stop there with that. Alright, please subscribe. You get all this boring shit every day. I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, or I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about an hour from now. But anyhow, I think women are going to be the last hope for this country in democracy. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I think that's the direction it's headed in. I'm not too confident about that. Not that there aren't women out there that would fight and everything like that. I just don't think there's enough of them. Okay? All right. Listen. Please subscribe, comment, do something. You know, instead of staring at the pictures. You know, I know I'm a great, good-looking guy, and I know you want to look at me all the time. But you know, let's try a little bit something different. Okay? All right. That's it for me today. See you tomorrow.